Right, okay, so we should be live now, hopefully. Right, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so hi, I'm Charlotte from Healthwatch Berry, and this is our Berry Older People Staying Well team live today on the 10th of November. So we've just got a couple of guidelines to go through before we start. So we want everyone to be accepting. Everyone is welcome regardless of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual affiliation, sexual orientation, sex, gender identity, or ability. We don't want to make advances or comments on appearance that might make someone feel uncomfortable. We don't want to be rude by intentionally provoking, threatening, or insulting anybody. Luckily, we have not had these problems. Don't flood the chat. We want to keep the conversation going, but don't repeatedly send the same comments. And we're not here to self-promote, so unless it's on the focus of the stream, can we please leave it out? We want to keep it clean, so no shocking, obscene, vulgar, or inflammatory language. We want to leave that out, please. And today, we're just going to have a quick introduction with myself, which is what we've done. Chris is then going to speak to us about the Berry Older People Staying Well team and what it is that they're offering in the local area. And then we've just got a couple of questions to ask him before we end the stream. If you want to put any questions in the comment section, we'll be sure to get through to them. Thank you. So, Healthwatch, who are we? We are your local health and social care champions. So we make sure NHS leaders and other decision makers hear your voice and use your feedback to improve care. We listen to your experiences of using health and social care services and share them with those with the power to make change happen. And we can also provide you with information and advice. So we can support you by signposting you to local or online support groups. We can give you information or advice about you or your family members' healthcare. We can listen to your experiences of using health and social care services within Berry. And here are our contact details. So all our social media handles, our email, both phone numbers, and our website. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second and pass over to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte. Morning, everybody. I hope you're all well. As Charlotte said, my name's Chris, and I work for the Older People's Staying Well team in Berry. We work with people over the age of 50, and our primary focus is to keep people as independent as possible for as long as possible. And how we do that is we go out and see them and have an informal conversation, really, a holistic informal conversation. We try to keep away from keeping that formal or the word assessment. We obviously are assessing in the background a little bit in terms of what the needs are, but for them, when we're in there, we're trying to keep it as informal as possible. The reason that we do that is because we want people to open up and we want people to talk to us about what their concerns are. And we really try and tailor what we do to the individual. So everyone that I go and see, I'll have a very, very different conversation because I'm trying to tailor it to them and not put them in a box. I'm going to go through what we cover and give you a sense of what we talk about and what we're aiming to do. So we'll start with personal care. So how is a person managing? And that starts from getting out of bed, the mobility. What are they like with showering, with bathing, with sit to stand off the toilet? All of our team, so there are 9 coordinators, 9 Staying Well coordinators. We have our project lead, who is Sammy, and then we have our project support, who is Adam. So there's 11 of us in total. And all the coordinators are trusted assessors. That means that we can go into your home if we're coming to see you, and we can all assess for small bits of equipment or adaptations. So that's particularly prevalent when you're talking about washing and bathing. So are they struggling with that? Is somebody struggling with toileting? Are they struggling with their mobility around the house with the stair rail or accessing the house? So that's a real big one for us. As I said at the start, it's about trying to keep people as independent as possible. So we're looking at prevention rather than cure. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to get into people before their needs have become such where they might need a social worker or more intensive help. If we do go into someone and their personal care needs are such that we think, do you know what, this is a little bit above what we do, and they're struggling to stay independent and they need more help, we can refer into social services with what's called a care needs assessment, and we would forward that on. We would always signpost that on, and that goes for anything that we're doing in the team. If there's not something that was within our remit or not something we'll do, we always signpost them or refer them on to the services that will be able to help. We're also looking at medication. We have great networks with the community pharmacists. So are you struggling with your medication? It might be that you haven't been able to get into your GP and you've been on a medication for a long period of time that you're not really sure if it's working or if it's right for you. It may be that you've stopped taking a medication because you don't think it's working, or there can be any number of reasons. The pharmacist will come out, they'll do a check with you, they'll go through all your medication with you, and they'll make sure that you're getting the medication that's right for you. They can also look at things like dose set boxes and making sure that the medication, as I say, is working for you. Can also, with the medication, look at getting you your medication dropped off instead of going picking it up. A lot of people like going picking it up because it gets them out of the house, but we can also arrange that if that's what you would like. Daily living. So this is a big one for us. How are you managing with your shopping, with your cooking, with your cleaning, with your laundry? We hold lists on all of our databases of people that will be able to help. We don't endorse them. It's not an endorsed list of cleaners, but we have got information to help people if they're struggling with their daily living. We also have things on the shopping side with Morrison's doorstep delivery. So lots of people, particularly after COVID, or perhaps they're struggling with mobility, can't go to the shops. They have a fantastic home delivery service where you can ring up, you order your shopping and it arrives the next day and you just pay on your card. So a big conversation around daily living. Your cooking, how are you managing with your cooking? And more importantly, how are you managing with your diet? We're all nutrition and hydration champions. Which means that we can offer advice and guidance on improving your diet and improving your hydration levels. Really, really important, that one. As I said, we're looking at the other things as well with laundry and cleaning and getting lists for that, but also around the house. You know, you'd be surprised how many people need bits doing around the house, and we hold lists for that. So things like plumbers, roofers, gardeners, anything around the house that is getting in the way of you keeping well or has become a distraction, we can get you help and support with. We touched on this a little bit with equipment, but it's also worth mentioning again about how are you mobilizing around the house, particularly how are you entering and exiting the house. So do you need grab rails? Do you need steps? Do you need anything that will make and increase your mobility? Big thing with this as well, and it's really important a service, is that a lot of the time when I go on visits, if you have lived your life and you feel that you've been independent all your life, the big thing psychologically sometimes can to feel that, well, I don't really want help. I want to stay independent, and I don't want to feel that I'm a burden or that I need this equipment now. What I try to promote all the time is that actually the opposite is true. So when I'm going into people, I'm always having the conversation with them that if you can accept a little bit of help now, you get what you want, which is your independence for longer than you do if you say, oh, do you know what? I'm fine. I'll soldier on. I'll manage. And then perhaps a couple of weeks later, you have a fall, you end up in hospital, and then you're back to square one. So it's really, really important that anybody listening today gets a real sense of that we're not there and our service isn't there to take anything away. We're there to add to and to build with and work with you as much as we can, as I said, to maintain your independence. Helping others. Do you have any caring responsibilities for anybody else? We work with the Carers Hub. We also can look at getting you a carer's budget. There's also benefits that are tied to that with the carer's allowance. So are you looking after someone? Are you getting all the help that you need to be able to look after someone as well? Because obviously that is a really, really intense role for somebody, particularly when they're on their own and they've had to stop their life to look after somebody. Getting out and about. We often will talk to people about taxi vouchers. So if your mobility has become such that, or your confidence has become such that you would struggle to get on a bus or a tram, you can swap your bus pass for taxi vouchers. You can't have them both, so you would have to hand your bus pass in, but you can also then get taxi vouchers. You pay £30. And Transport for Greater Manchester will quadruple that. So you get £120 back in taxi vouchers. So that's really handy then. If you've got a bus pass that you're never going to use and is sat on the mantelpiece, at least then you're getting something for your concessionary travel rather than a bus pass that you're never going to use. We also look at and can help with blue badges. Has your mobility become such that you would benefit from that? And we can help you apply and go through the process of getting yourself a blue badge. Your house and home, real big one for this in our service. Are you happy where you live? Are you struggling with any repairs? What's the state of the housing? Again, we have the provider in Bury is Six Town Housing, so we have great links with them in terms of getting them to come out and do repairs or look at things. If you're privately renting and you're in arrears or you're struggling with any part of your housing, we work with Calico, who offer a fantastic bespoke service where they will work with your landlord to help you get you in a better place with your housing. Do you want to look at rehousing and because you're not happy where you are, perhaps the house has become too big, it's become unmanageable, you want to look at rehousing, we can support with that and point you in the right direction. Your money, again, another big one. We work with people all the time on things like pension credit. If you're not receiving a full pension, you're entitled to pension credit, which tops up your pension. Now, what's really, really important about this is if you're receiving even a penny of pension credit, then that opens you up to lots of other benefits. So we've obviously had a cost of living crisis, and those on pension credit, when the government decided what support level people were going to get, those on pension credit got the highest amount of support. So that's a really, really important one, that if you're not getting pension credit, then you must, and we can help with that in terms of pointing you in the right direction. You must apply for that. The other one is attendance allowance. Attendance allowance is a small amount of benefit that's paid to people to keep them independent. So have you started to struggle with the cost of, so you would perhaps benefit from a cleaner or a gardener, but the cost is prohibitive. So that will certainly help with that, or it might help towards taxes to get you out. So that's a huge one. The bottom rate of that is £69 a week, and the top rate is £101 a week. So sometimes we've gone in and we might have gone into a couple, and we've even done a double referral. So if you've got two people there and they're both entitled to the top rate, you've got £800 a month coming into the house, which would make a huge, huge difference for a lot of people. So money is a real, real big one for us in making sure that people are getting what they're entitled to and getting the support they need, again, to live as full a life as possible and remain independent. Your communication, how are you doing with your eyes and your ears? Are you having regular eye tests? Have you started to struggle with your ears? Do you need a referral into audiology? Specsavers are doing a fantastic home hearing and eye test now. So again, if you are struggling to get out and you would prefer them to come onto the home, we can signpost you to that. A big one for us as well is we talk to people a lot about the social isolation and or inclusion, and we do that in a number of ways. Do people want to look at volunteering opportunities to get them out of the house more? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? And when I say this, I really, and again, we talked about this earlier, but I really try and tailor this to the individual. So it's not, and never has been a case in our team of saying, of pigeonholing people. So for instance, I'm going seeing a 75-year-old. Well, do you want to knit, or do you want, that's fine. If that's what they want to do. That's absolutely fine. But we're trying to stay away from generalizing people and their interests. So I've done things like when I've gone out to see people, I've found them archery classes, I've found them piano classes. I'm really trying to tailor it to what are your individual hobbies and interests, rather than trying to fit you into a box. So if there's anything that will maintain your independence, keep you well, get you outside of the house, help your mental health by doing something that you're really interested in, then that's what we'll do. Because ultimately, we've got to have buy-in from the person that we're going seeing. You know, really good example. I went to see a gentleman recently who had quite a significant stroke, and was struggling with coming to terms with that, but had done fantastically well physically, and was, but probably didn't recognize that because he was comparing himself to what he was before that. And we had a really, really long conversation about, I asked him what he wanted, what was important to him. And he'd been very reticent and reluctant to join other groups and get involved because he was struggling mentally. We had that conversation, and he's agreed to go to a chair-based exercise class. Now that hopefully will be fantastic for him, because it will get him out of the house. It will increase his social inclusion. It will help the mobility in his legs, and it will start to build his confidence. But that took me a long time. It took me an hour and a half of talking to him, getting him to understand the benefits. So that's just a really small example of how, you know, working with someone's individuals, hobbies and interests to get them to where they want to be can be really beneficial. Work and training. We work with people sometimes who are, you know, we say we're the older people's staying well team, which we are, but that means 50 and above. Now, we know that 50 is, in life terms, is still relatively young. Of course it is. So we work a lot sometimes with people in their early 50s who do want to get back into work and have struggled. Perhaps they've lost a job and they want to reintegrate back into work and into society. So we work with work coaches to help them get back on that ladder again and get them back into work. Training, real big one. Do you want to upskill, or do you want a life skill? A big one for us is digital skills, particularly with connectivity, in terms of perhaps family have moved away from the area. Perhaps you don't see a lot of your friends and you're struggling to stay connected, but you don't really know how a smartphone works or how a tablet works. So we offer courses at Bury Adult Learning, at Bury College, which are fantastic places for people to get out and, as I say, learn a new skill and keep them connected. But that also goes into things like a cooking course or learning a language, or, again, very much tailored to the individual. What else? So we look at your health and lifestyle. How is your health generally? Are you struggling with being overweight? Do you need to stop smoking? We have great ties into the Live Well service, who can help you with getting back into the gym, staying active, doing a program with you that will take you from sitting on the couch to getting out again, staying active, staying healthy, which is really, really important. And obviously the mental health benefits that come with that. We also have a talk about your feelings. Where are you mentally? Are you struggling with anything? We're not counsellors, we're not mental health professionals, but we can have those early conversations, particularly around behaviour change and low mood. And that was a really good example of what I was talking to with that gentleman a second ago. That was very prevalent about, you know, sat in for long periods on his own. When he's sat on it for long periods, he's thinking. When he's thinking, he's getting overwhelmed, he's procrastinating, and it's really difficult to get out of that negative cycle. So we have a conversation about that, and we offer support and ongoing support. Really, really good service called Bury Involvement Group, who will work with people one-on-one and give them the support, be a listening ear. And what's fantastic about that service is they offer ongoing peer support groups. Because so a lot of time people will say, I got that support initially and it was great for 6 or 7 weeks, but then when that stopped, I felt that, you know, I was a little bit left. Well, Big are fantastic because they've got that ongoing support. And again, we touched on this before, but if that's something that I don't feel is low level, so perhaps it's low mood, some anxiety, I will always refer them on to the appropriate mental health services if it's more than that, and if that's not going to be beneficial, and actually the needs are greater than that. So yeah, as you can see from that, it's a very, very wide-ranging conversation, very wide-ranging conversation. And, you know, just this week, examples, I've gone and seen a few people this week, and one lady I've seen, I've put a few things in and a couple of small bits because she was managing on the whole. A visit I've gone to see yesterday, I've probably got 10 or 11 support points from what we've talked about on there, where we've had the conversation. And then they've decided that, yeah, actually that would be really beneficial. I always say as well, and we touched on this right at the start, about it is just a conversation. And sometimes when we go into people, there can be a sense of overwhelm because I come in and it's, you know, what about this? What about this? And if people feel that they're getting like, oh, wow, you know, there's 5 or 6 things there, it's very easy for people to get overwhelmed. So what I say to people all the time is, okay, well, let's start small. Okay. Let's start small with 2 or 3 things. And then our service isn't going anywhere. So I'll say to people, what we talk about is based on today. So let's put in what we think is most important today. And then you go away and you have a think about it. So we write to everyone that we go and see. And we also do a GP summary. So everyone that we go and see, we connect to your GP. We let your GPs know what's going on. And then a week or 2 later, we'll write to you with all the information that we've talked about. But we'll also then say, right, Adam, who is our project support, who I mentioned earlier, he will also have a check-in about 6 weeks later. And then after that, we always leave people open with our number on the letter that we've sent. And I will say to people, look, take the best bits from today, have a think about it. If you want us to come back out in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, that's absolutely not a problem. We come back out, we have the conversation again. And if there's things that have changed that you thought on the first visit, actually, do you know what? I'm okay for that in a minute. But now things have changed and you want to look at that, that's absolutely not a problem. And we do that and we put those things in place. So yeah, absolutely. It's about the individual. It's about tailoring to them. It's informal. It's a conversation. And ultimately it's a collaborative between us and the person to try to get them to live as independent and as full a life as possible.
Wow, Chris, there's lots there, isn't there, actually? I'm just sat here like absorbing. It's a really good blanket support, that's amazing. One stop for everything. Okay, so I've just got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, no worries.
Is my mum's been feeling lonely recently and wants to start going out again, but doesn't know where to start. Would the Staying Well team be able to help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We deal with this a lot, particularly around social isolation. There's loads of ways that we could tackle that. So we have 3 social prescribers across Bury who, when we've got people with low confidence or who are struggling to make that first step, because sometimes what happens with that is you will say to people, do you want to go out? Yeah, I wouldn't mind. But there's a world of difference between having the conversation and actually getting them to the event, because mentally you've got to, what have you got to do with that? You've got to get ready. You've got to think about who's going to be there. You've got to think about making conversation. Perhaps this person that we're talking to hasn't gone out for 2 or 3 years, particularly after COVID. And perhaps that's the new reality now. 6 months has turned to 12, 12 has turned to 2 years, and they just don't go out anymore. So it's very easy in the conversation to say, does that sound appealing, to the difference of, as I say, getting ready, going out, and getting there. So we work with the social prescribers who will come out, who can work with people, who will help them get to that first meeting and help them break the ice and build the confidence. Equally, if it's not that and they just want information and they want to get out and they're quite active and they have quite, absolutely not a problem. As I said before, we hold a database on each area of Bury, which has a full list of activities, groups, clubs. So, you name it, we've got it. And if we haven't got it, we find it. So anything like that, we will either signpost and get them to the service that they want that will help them the most. And if even if they're struggling with a bit of anxiety, confidence, making that first step, we can liaise with the social prescribers who will help them get them there, because we do understand that is very difficult as well.
Wow, that's amazing. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so our second and final question. My grandma has recently been discharged from hospital and is worried about going out for a walk in case she has a fall. I'm concerned she's not moving around enough. Is there something she could do to increase her mobility indoors?
Yeah, so I would, if somebody presented that with me, I would be making a direct referral into the Live Well service for them to look at how they could work with them in the home so that they could start to promote their mobility and independence. I'd then be following them up with a walking group because what's important with stuff like that is people have to see the end goal, because then people lose they lose motivation. If I'm if I'm if I'm just increasing things so I can walk from here to the bathroom, there's not really a big win in that, and then people go, oh, well, they lose motivation with it. So what I would be doing is I would want them to have the initial goal of, okay, let's get your mobility around the home better. Let's increase your mobility, but then let's also give you the goal of getting back to what you wanted to do, which was walking. By offering now, obviously, I'll be working with the person there, but I would aim to give them that goal if they didn't want to go to walking. Obviously, we look at that, but I would want to give them that goal. So, right, once we've got your mobility up and running again, let's then get you out as well. So you've got an add-on to that. So they've got something that they're working towards rather than just getting a baseline. If it's a baseline they want, then obviously the Live Well service will look with that, and that's absolutely fine. But we're also looking as well about what else can we build on with that.
Perfect. And what would be the best way to get in touch with you actually, Chris, if
So
people reached out?
anyone can get in touch with us. You can self-refer. It's really, really, really easy. You can go, it's staying well team at berry.gov.uk. You can email in. If you ring adult care services, which is 0161 253 5151. You can ring them. They will then triage the call and they will send you right through to us. So anyone can self-refer. If you or your family or anyone else, all that we ask is that if you're referring for somebody else, that you have their consent for them to. So if I say I'm bringing in for my mum, I just want to make sure that you've got your mum's consent for us to ring up. That's the only thing that we ask. So yeah, you can refer in, dead easy. You either phone in on the number I've just given, or you can email on the email. And yeah, and then we will give you a call. We'll always give you a call within no more than a day or two. A lot of the time, the same day. We will call. We'll get a little bit of an overview of what's happening for you, and then we will book you in for a visit. We usually work on about a 4 to 6 week time scale. So after that initial call, it's important that people get that initial call so they know it's been acknowledged and they know we're coming out. And then from then, we'll get you booked in as soon as possible. If things are a bit quieter than that, it might be less than 4 weeks. And obviously, if things are a little bit busy, it might be a little bit more. But it tends to fluctuate around that time scale. So we'll get them booked in and then go out and see them.
Perfect. Tell you what, we're going to put all that in the comments section as well of the stream, just so that people have it better. So on that note,
No
I'm
worries.
just quickly end the stream. So thank you everybody who was here.